Hi everyone, welcome back to the Geterbrewed channel. So today I'm joined by Andres. Forewarning you, go and get yourself a beer, sit back, relax. This is going to be a long one. We're going to deep dive into the AEB yeast strains and tell you a little bit about each one and go through tips, tricks, what's unique about them, and just get a bit of background knowledge on why you need to try these yeasts at home. So buckle up. First yeast strain I want to look at is the juicy New England or New E. What was your thought process when you selected this strain?
In my mind, I wanted to have a yeast strain for all the brewers who like to produce New England IPAs, NAPAs and hazy IPAs, and but not just IPAs, but now like can be any hazy type of beer which is more hop forward, So because this particular strain give you a nice mouthfeel, and allows the dry hop to shine through.
Okay.
And it's a very, I would say, very reliable strain for this type of beers. And it's originally from Bondington Brewery.
All right, Boddington's,
It's from Manchester.
Yeah.
So and even it's for production for New England IPAs. It's from English origin.
Yeah.
And it has a very beautiful flavor profile. It expresses very fruity character. And give you some notes of peach, maybe some apricot notes from time to time. And I would suggest temperature range to use this strain. I would say between 19 degrees to 22 degrees Celsius.
Okay.
And
And it's low flocculent, so stable haze and.
Correct.
Yeah.
So that's exactly what the brewers need for this type of beer. So it's low flocculent yeast strain. And would help you to have a more stable haze in your NAPAs, together with your dry hops and the grain bill that you're using.
Obviously, modern pale ales are moving in that general direction, so we think there's going to be a high demand for this strain. So we've lots of stock on order.
Exactly.
Hopefully, we can keep up with demand. Next strain that we're going to look at is the Chico strain. We've called this clean ale. It's Fermo Ale AY4 from AEB, and I guess Chico's the hometown of Sierra Nevada. That's where.
Correct. So originally from Sierra Nevada, it's, I would say, the most popular ale yeast strain in the craft beer world.
Yeah.
Because it's quite versatile. It's a very reliable yeast strain. It's neutral and allows also to express the hop character in your beers.
Yeah.
So it's originally used for West Coast IPAs, but give you the flexibility to use it for any kind of beer. It's one of the perfect how you can make your house
strain.
Yeast strain. Yeah.
So this particular strain is suitable for a wide spectrum of styles: stouts, ales, IPAs, anything really.
Anything, exactly. All type of ales you like, and also it's very flexible with the temperature range. You can even deal from 16 degrees Celsius up to 23.
Okay.
So and that's up to the the brewer recipe. Yeah.
And what sort of attenuation and flocculation can you expect from this particular strain?
This strain is, you can get, of course, depends on the wort composition, but we're talking between, can be from 80 to 84%.
Okay. Yeah.
Attenuation. So, and it's high flocculent.
Yeah.
So you get, really clear beers with this strain.
Okay.
If you have, of course, a proper, conditioning time.
Yeah.
And it's a really nice beer. It's a beautiful strain. Yeah.
Yeah. A go-to house strain for a wide spectrum of different beer styles. So, okay. Next strain I can see is the Fermo Ale. So that's the Yorkshire regional ale, and I guess the name is part of the origin of that particular strain.
Exactly. So this strain, I think, is very unique from the AEB portfolio. I think the other competitors have this, and basically this strain is really good for production, let's say, of stouts.
Okay.
Yeah. And this one actually is low flocculant. This is
Yeah.
something that brewers need to keep in mind. And but it gives you sort of even some citrusy notes,
Okay.
very delicate
Yeah.
citrusy notes, and some notes of even apple notes, which
Yeah.
is not related to acetaldehyde. It's more
Yeah.
related to some higher alcohols. And yeah, actually that was the very first AEB
Okay.
Brewing yeast strain
Okay.
launched in the market. Yeah.
And what beer styles would you suggest that, other than stouts, is it suitable for, you know?
Also can be used as your house yeast strain. You
Okay,
know, it's
yeah.
also quite versatile, and even there's some ciders makers using it
Okay.
for production of ciders,
Yeah.
which is very interesting. And one particular thing is it also is high alcohol tolerant as well,
Okay.
in relation to other brewing yeast strains. So
Yeah.
it can be you know, even to 12-13%
Yeah.
ABV alcohol tolerant. And yeah. That's
So is it in the broad spectrum of classic British ale yeasts? Is that?
absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right. Okay.
Yes, absolutely. So it's originally from Titlis.
Tetley's. Yeah.
Titlis,
Yeah. Yeah.
So yeah, and you know this it give you this classic, you know, North England
Yeah.
aled flavor profile. You know.
So the UK, you know, Great Britain in general would have a huge following for cask ale. You know, so this is a good
That
strain.
will be like
Yeah.
that will be a suitable yeast strain
Yeah.
for cask ale producers. Yeah.
Okay, cool. So talking of classic British ale strains, we're moving on to the big, bold British ale, which is the Firmawale AY3.
AY3.
So what's the origin of this strain?
This the origin of this strain is from Whitbread.
Okay, yeah.
Yeast strain, and it's the, I would say, the most popular British ale yeast.
Yeah.
You know, in the craft beer world, because it's super versatile.
Yeah.
It's just like the American version of the El Chico, but this is
But the
British version.
Yeah, yeah.
So it's a perfect yeast strain for your house, you know, yeast strain.
Yeah.
You can produce pretty much all the ale yeast, you
Yeah.
know, that most of the ales beer styles, you know.
It'll perform at a similar temperature range to the neutral ale yeast, the American
Pretty
version?
much, yeah.
Okay.
It's pretty much the same. I would say the difference if we compare both is that this one, the British ale yeast, give you more this malt backbone
Okay.
in comparison to the American strain.
So that'll shine malt and the other one will shine hops. The
Yes.
Chico shines, you know.
That's
so,
right.
Okay.
Yeah.
So next strain, moving away from the ale strains and onto the lager strains, is Firmo Lager W, which is just we're calling it top pour classic lager yeast. I take it it's a bottom fermenting yeast.
That's good. That's right.
Okay.
Yeah. So I would say this is the most popular lager yeast strain as
Okay.
well in the craft beer market, and is originally from Weinstefan,
Okay.
which in Freising in Bavaria. You
Yeah.
know, it's just 20 kilometers north from Munich,
Yeah.
Bavarian. Yeast strain, also very versatile. You
Yeah.
can pretty much produce all type of lagers, you know, you
Yeah.
want. It has a more neutral character,
Yeah.
you know, and yeah, that's again, it's perfect for house lager, house
Yeah,
yeast
it's a
strain.
hugely popular strain of yeast.
That's
You
right.
know, yeah, it's
Yeah.
used all across the world for lager production. So, what sort of temperature range can the brewers expect to perform well at?
I suggest something between 10 to 13 degrees Celsius.
Okay.
That's like a normal range, you know.
Yeah.
Like I would say average 12 degrees Celsius.
Yeah.
That's a good temperature to work with.
Okay,
Yeah.
and how does it affect it if you increase that temperature a little bit? Because I know some people are doing that.
Yeah, they do this. Yeah, you can do it, and the purpose is that you know, the yeast is more active. You know,
Yeah.
so they start producing more flavor active compounds,
Okay.
basically.
Yeah.
You know, esters and higher alcohols, and
Yeah.
and of course you're gonna get a fruiter character. You know.
Yeah. Yeah.
But with the lagers, you just need to always be careful. You know, not to overdo.
Yeah. Yeah.
And but yeah, is this possible?
We did some experiments in this recently and fermented it at a higher temperature but under pressure. So that's the pressure suppressed the esters and
suppress
made
it.
some really
Yeah.
good results with it.
Yeah,
actually, you
yeah,
know.
of course. Yeah, this is another way to do it. Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
Just always experimenting in the craft
Exactly.
beer world. you
Yeah.
know. Okay, so sticking in the lager range of yeasts, we have Great Taste, which is a classic German lager yeast. Again, I believe it's a bottom fermenting strain. So tell me what's great about the Fermo Lager Berlin.
Well, this strain is originally from Berlin, as you said, from the BLB, one of the main brewing institutions in the world. And this particular strain has gives you more elegant flavor character. It produces higher levels of esters in comparison to the Bavarian lager yeast strain. The same as the Bavarian, you can use it as your house yeast strain, and I would recommend this strain for production of box and doppelbox, stronger lagers, because of these particular characteristics. And and also I can recommend you for production of California Common ales, which, as you know, is basically ales, fermenting with lager yeast strains at higher temperatures. So you can produce perfectly that type of beer at 16 degrees Celsius with the use of this strain.
So in doing that, you could turn the lager production around a little bit quicker as well, in theory.
As well, of course.
Sticking again with lagers, and I believe you've selected this particular strain yourself as the Fermo Lager Crisp, which is totally new.
Yeah, that's this is I'm quite happy about this yeast strain. It's first of all, we are the only one so far, where we have this particular strain, and it's originally from Mexico City. For a big brewery that we know. And the reason of this strain, my intention is to offer to the brewers, the possibility to produce different type of lagers, not just using all the German lagers strains all the time, and specifically, to make a more crispier lagers, like just picture like Japanese lagers, rice lagers, and of course American lagers. And Australian, this type of beers, which are more, crispier, they are more neutral in character, they have a higher drinkability. And that could be one option, one direction, and the other direction could be just for production of, hoppy lagers. Like now it's fashion, these Italian pilsners, or also they call it cold IPAs. So because of the characteristics of having, crispier character, is drier and more neutral, will allow you that the hop character can shine through.
We were chatting about this off camera, but earlier, we believe it's a trend that's going to come.
Absolutely, it's coming.
Definitely, the cold. The cold IPA is obviously trending at the minute, but I think the higher drinkability lagers that you've mentioned are coming.
Exactly. And also this strain is it's adapted to the use of adjuncts, like rice and maize corn, and which and it can ferment actually at lower temperatures, than the German yeast strain. So actually, this strain can ferment well at 10 degrees Celsius.
What is the original source of it? Is it Corona or Sol, or who are you going to say it is from?
It's from Corona. It's Cerveceria Modelo is the name of the brewery, and Corona is just a product, but it's not as well known. Which we know this has high drinkability. That product,
Moving on to more of the specialty yeast strains. So this is a Trappist Belgian ale, Fermo Ale Belle Abbey. I'm kind of going through like a bit of a Belgian beer crush at the minute. I don't blame you. we visited Dingemans and had a great trip with them. We started selling their malts, and like we fanboyed and chased them for a few years before we got the distribution agreement. So, and we've been designing lots of recipes for the homebrew community using Belgian malts.
Awesome.
So I've been drinking a lot of Trappist beers, and I can see that's another, talking of trends, I think we're going to see Belgian beers become more popular in the next year or so as well, as brewers want to express and experiment with those. So this is the Rochefort strain you've selected.
That's right,
Again, it's unique to AEB.
It's exactly. That's a very unique strain, that I really wanted. I selected this strain myself because I wanted to make sure that, to offer a beautiful yeast strain for the brewers out there, and not the same ones that they normally find out there. And I would say I love this strain because it gives you a really elegant flavor profile.
Yeah.
And if you compare this strain to other Trappist, yeast strains, this one gives you it's not so phenolic. It has produce more higher alcohols in comparison to other strains, and not so many phenolics, and that's what gives you that elegance.
Yeah.
And I love it, and it's also has high alcohol tolerance.
Yeah.
And attenuates really good. So it's a very reliable yeast strain. So highly recommend it.
Lovely. And in terms of Belgian strains, my experience has been is that a lot of the recipes have dictated that you start your temperature slightly lower and increase it over 2 or 3 days.
That's right. Yeah, it's a very common practice actually amongst Belgian brewers. You know, so you can start, let's say, 19 degrees Celsius, and then you can gradually
let it increase over a few days.
Over a few days, in order to allow the yeast, to be, more active and produce all these beautiful flavor-active compounds.
Yeah. Look, if you haven't tried a Rochefort beer, go and treat yourself to one, and then you'll want to start using this yeast strain.
Rochefort 10. That's the best one.
And show them a bit of respect. If you have 2 in the evening, you'd struggle to get out of the armchair, I'd say, for the third one as well. So sticking with the specialty yeasts, saucy French Saison. So this is a saucy little number. So Fermeuil de la Grange. Did I say that right?
That's correct.
Yeah.
Which means from the farm, in French.
So again, another style that I can see more brewers starting to experiment with, Saisons. This again is a little bit unique to AEB in that it's a French Saison strain.
Correct. Yeah. So in the dry active yeast market is I think it's very unique. The yeast, as you say, a French Saison yeast. Yeah. Because right now, in the market there's more Belgian Saison yeast strains. Well, the reason I selected the French one is because it allows you to produce not only French Saisons, also Belgian Saisons, and Bière de Garde, which is another official French beer style. Yeah. And if flavor-wise, I would say this strain is give you a bit citrusy notes in comparison to the Belgian one, more citrusy. And also it's a bit and drier, I think, in some cases. Of course, depends how the composition of your wort. And it's also a very beautiful strain. It's also not so phenolic, in comparison to the Belgian ones. So it's a nice choice.
So Saison it's from the farm. That's where the name comes from, isn't it? So it was a beer that was designed to be brewed for refreshment for farm workers. Is that?
That's correct. Yeah. So Saisons are summer, spring summer beers. Very refreshing. They're highly attenuating. It's important to mention is Saison yeast strains are diastaticus. Which means it's going to ferment all the extract, all the sugars in the wort. So because one of the main characteristics of this beer style is they're very dry. So there's no sugars left. So that's and they're highly carbonated, as you say, because the intention is to make a beer very highly drinkable, and refreshing. It's something
I love this style of beer, and in our brewery we've actually we've put a Saison into a fooder to age it, and we're about 6 months into that process at the minute. And it's one of the beers I love going in and sampling just a little taste and again to see how it's developing. But right, so moving on, and I guess it's funny to cover this. I've been saying this wrong apparently for ages, so we would call it the Kveik strain. So there's 2, Kveik H and Kveik SV. You were just educating me that it's Norwegian and it's Kveik. Is that the correct pronunciation?
Yeah, that's right. I mean, these strains are originally from Norway, from the west coast of Norway, and the farmers been using this. And as you said, the right way to pronounce it is Kveik. Yeah, Kveik. Because that's how the Norwegians pronounce it, and it's originally from the Old Norse. Yeah, and which means the connotation of something vigorous. Yeah, that's why in English, which is a Germanic language, the word quick you know, comes
and
right there.
And that's relevant to this strain because it's quick fermentation times.
Yeah, that's right.
What's very unique with these strains in our experience and what we've tried is you can ferment exceptionally clean beer at higher temperatures, you know, super quick.
Yeah, that's right. You know, they're like, as some people call it, like the super yeast, because it's a very peculiar yeast strains, you know, that they ferment at higher temperatures, you know, the optimal range between 33 degrees Celsius up to 40 degrees Celsius.
Yeah.
So obviously they're super active.
Yeah.
They ferment very quickly. You know, you can get the attenuation in 48 hours, maybe.
Yeah.
72 hours, 2-3 days. And but you might think that they're gonna come with a awful flavor profile, but it's not. You know, they're super clean. Actually, they produce higher levels of esters, but in a very nice way.
Yeah. Yeah.
And they're highly flocculent. And on the top of that, they are highly alcohol tolerant, so they can resist up to 15-16% ABV. So
good
it's a super yeast, you know. So for brewers, I mean, for home brewers, you know, there's like it's perfect. They don't need any cooling systems, you know. Of course, they just need to keep an eye on their good practices, you know, because at this temperature, many microorganisms stay like growing.
Yeah.
And but also for the distillers, you know, can be used, you know, because all these characteristics, you know, so it should be an option for the distillers as well.
So there's 2 available at the moment. I take it the H is Hornidal.
That's correct. Yeah, and this the Hornidal gives you more tropical, you know, notes, you know, pineapples and mangoes kind of thing. To me, it's the strain that has the most interesting character, and it can be used for any kind of beers, like from New England IPAs to any kind of, I would say, beers that you want to express, a fruity character. And then and the other one is the SV, the Voss, Kveik, which gives you more. I would say a bit more neutral. I would say a bit more citrusy, no tropical notes. Yeah. So both are like beautiful strains if you want to produce fruity beers. And many homebrewers have been using it for New England IPAs or New England or hazy pale ales. Hop driven,
Hop
beers
forward. Look at Kveik, quick. Whatever your vocabulary terminology is at home or on the other side of the camera. We have both of these strains in stock and they're readily available now. We're really interested to hear your feedback on them. So moving on to the Fermo Brew series, and this is something where there's a huge potential here because there's a movement towards low and no alcohol beer production. And I believe these strains could be very useful for the brewing community to express flavour in a low and no alcohol beer, which is exceptionally difficult to do. So there is a few at the moment. We have Fermo Brew Citrus available, and I believe there's 4 or 5 in this range.
Correct, like there are 5 yeast strains, And as you say, well, we got now this Fermo Brew Citrus, and the production of low and non-alcoholic beers now is increasing, rapidly. I'm living in Sweden, so the non-alcoholic production is already established there for more than 6 years now. Yeah. And but now it's Central Europe and here, in the UK is growing. Yeah. So here we have, we want to offer to the brewers a different way how to make non-alcoholic beers through a rested fermentation method, which is a very well-known method for craft brewers when they want to make this type of beers. Yeah. And here the intention is that these yeast strains, they produce much higher levels of thiols. Thiols are flavor-active compounds, tiny compounds that are highly volatile, but give you a very beautiful, aromas. In this particular case, more citrusy aromas, and So what we advise to the brewers is to use this yeast strain is to pitch the wort with this strain and to leave it active actually.
Yeah.
So we recommend something between 12 to 14 degrees Celsius, no more than that.
Yeah.
Just to keep it active, but keep it also repressed at the same time, so not allowing to produce the alcohol much.
Yeah.
So the intention is by having it active, so allow them to produce these beautiful aroma compounds.
Yeah.
And then and also, but monitoring that they will not exceed the alcohol content that you're allowed to, which is not. It depends on the regulation of each country to country, but it's something around at least in Sweden it's 0.5%. I guess here is the same.
Yeah.
So so once you get this 0.4 ABV, and then you can cold crash it. That will take something around between 2 to 3 days.
Yeah.
And then you will perceive straight away these aromas coming from the yeast, and that will help a lot to balance out the flavor of your product.
Yeah.
So and then you just cold crash it and then leave it for some days.
Yeah.
According to my experience, I recommend at least 10 days conditioning, because we need to keep in mind that there is not just biochemical reactions happening, but also chemical ones.
Yeah.
So really you do a favor to your beer just to leave it for some days, even if it's a non-alcoholic beer or low alcoholic. And then of course you need to make sure that before you're packing your beer needs to be either pasteurized or needs to be sterile filtered, just to make sure that to guarantee the biological stabilization of your product.
Okay. Now that's the low and no alcohol production process. You're going through that arrested fermentation. Is this yeast strain also suitable for, say, a table beer at 3% without going through the pasteurization or sterile filtration?
Yeah, that's possible. This is it's important you can do it, but the important is that to make sure that these yeast strains, they're originally from white wine production, So, and they were particularly designed by AEB, so nobody has these strains, and they're very, very specific. The only thing you need to keep an eye as a brewer is that these yeast strains start producing these beautiful aromas, but if you keep it longer, normal gravity worts, it's gonna turn out a bit phenolic. Like a wheat beer or Saison, which is not what you are expecting for. So the strategy here is that you need to stop the yeast activity before start turning into this phenolic, So for low alcoholic beers, yes, you can, and it all depends on the, because you're dealing with low gravity worts.
Yeah.
So of course that depends a lot on how you're gonna develop your recipe. But the short answer, it's possible to use it.
But just be aware of the implications.
Exactly.
Yeah. Okay, so the Thermo Brew, we've used the citrus to discuss there, that range. You have recommended that as the best of the few that AEB have, but there's also.
Yeah, and I'm totally confident to say that because I use this yeast strain for production of the if I can say, the first non-alcoholic beer for Iron Maiden.
Oh, very good, yeah.
So it's called Running Free, and it was just launched 4 or 5 weeks ago. So and the band is happy with it, and so I'm very confident about using this yeast strain for production of non-alcoholic.
Yeah.
But there are some other yeast strains. So I recommend you like Thermo Brew Fragrance, which give you more floral character.
Yeah.
That and the other one is Thermo Brew Berry, which give you some berry notes, and that's quite interesting.
Yeah.
So of course depends on the type of beer style you want to brew.
Lovely, nice range of yeast, and especially as brewers, sort of bridge that gap between beer and wine, introducing wine strains of what were designed to be wine strains of yeast can help us express more flavors in beer.
Absolutely, and I believe we brewers, we need to learn more from the winemakers, because honestly I think they are light years ahead of us when it comes to innovation, to flavor chemistry, to develop new products. And the good thing is that these new generations of brewers, they are up to to experiment and to explore new flavors. No matter if it's using different yeast strains or malts or hops or flavoring ingredients. So everybody's welcome as long you create something a great experience, I would say.
Yeah. Okay, so moving on, the final yeast that we're going to cover is Acid House. So tank sour thermal brew acid. It's designed to allow brewers to create sour beers, and it's all carried out, rather than it being a kettle sour, it's a fermentation sour. So it's fermented and soured in the fermentation tank. Is that a...
That's right. So that's, I would say, a really great option for the brewers to produce sour beers without the risk of cross-contamination, and give you also, so you don't need to deal with work kettle, method. And so basically this yeast is, you pitch the yeast in the cold water, and it will produce higher levels of lactic acid.
Okay, yeah.
And the temperature range should be something between 19 to 25 degrees Celsius.
Okay, yeah.
And it will not just produce lactic acid; also will give you some interesting flavor, active, compounds, some flavor compounds that can go from, pomegranate kind of thing, some even some grapefruit in some cases.
Yeah.
And and I would say it's the cleanest way how to brew sour beers. I know there's a whole debate for the people who are into, brewers who are into sour beers, because by using, mixed cultures with bacteria, with breads and lactic acid bacteria, and with this one. Yeah. But it's a very nice strain, I would say, and not just produce lactic acid, also it produces alcohol.
Okay.
So the brewers have the choice to use, co-inoculations.
Okay, yeah.
By using this strain and another brewing yeast of their choice, or you can just purely use this strain to make a beer even up to 5% ABV,
So a couple of questions with this, because we have a few brew pubs now in Belfast, and we've been helping them, and sours are proving incredibly popular. So kettle souring, to get a good fermentation, you usually have to pre-acidify the wort before you process it on for fermentation. Do you have to do that with this?
No.
Okay,
no,
so you
don't.
make your wort in the normal way, put it into the tank, pitch the yeast like a normal yeast, and it also sours and ferments.
Yeah, well, actually that's his job,
Yeah.
So they can ferment from, normal wort pH. We're talking about, from 5.2, 5.5, you know. And it's going to drop the pH, the lowest at work conditions, 3.5.
Okay.
But if you want to go further down, the trick is you can add some, simple sugars like a dextrose, glucose, because this is the main substrate, the main food that this yeast needs.
Yeah. Okay.
And that's, you can go down to 3.2, which is the minimum that any sour, yeast strain can deal with,
Yeah.
And
If you're doing a co-fermentation, do you need to allow this a period of time before you put the other yeast in, or can you add the two at the one time?
Well, the strategy is that you first pitch the sour yeast and allow him to, to produce the lactic acid and to, and for instance, if you're aiming for a final pH of 3.5, let's say, we advise you to pitch the second yeast strain 0.3 above the target pH. So that means 3.8 in this case.
Okay.
Because the other yeast needs to, start growing before, inactivate the sour yeast. So, and at the end you ended up to 3.5. Yeah.
So pitch the tank sour, allow it to do its work for a short period of time to get roughly 3 points above the target pH, and then add the secondary yeast.
That's right.
But it's also possible to use this just as a standalone.
As a standard one, yeah.
Just with a little bit extra time, then. Right?
Exactly. Just that's important to mention. All great beers need time.
Yeah. Patience.
So you need to be patient. Exactly.
Yeah. It's a bit like that with the wild fermentations that we've been doing, and the bacteria. inoculated fermentations, you're rewarded for your patience.
Yeah, exactly.
It's just getting your head around waiting 18 months or 2 years for the beer to get to where you want it to be, you know. So look, a really wide, diverse, innovative range of yeasts. What I really like about AEB yeast is they've strains that are unique to them.
Mm-hmm.
There's a lot of samey type stuff being done out there in the craft beer world. So a few stand out to me. The Rochefort strain, being the Belgian Trappist strain to try. That I liked your comments on Fermo Lager Crisp. That's you know it's there's a new trend coming. I can see that being exciting.
Yeah.
The New England is going to be a phenomenal seller for us. I know that. And then the two clean ale, the British ale and the American ale. We are excited to bring these strains of yeast to the UK and Irish market. We're holding large stocks here. We've got excellent technical support from a master brewer who's very passionate about this. And look, it's going to be a good time for the brewing industry in the UK and Ireland, being able to access these yeasts and to have the correct support and know that it's a premium quality yeast, backed up with full technical support, and that we can get it to you express, because that's what we're good at. And thanks for taking us through, Andres.
My pleasure.
So that's AEB Yeast introduction, taking you through the range. Thanks so much for watching, folks, and until next time, happy brewing.